trust the American people to draw their own conclusions. They should not be dictated by some narrative and accept that as fact. So they can review the tapes themselves. We're going through a methodical process of releasing them as quickly as we can. As you know, we have to blur some of the faces of persons who participated in the events of that day, because we don't want them to be retaliated against and to be charged by the DOJ and to have other concerns and problems. So that's a slow process to get it done. We're working steadily on it. We've hired additional personnel to do that, and all of those tapes ultimately at the end will be out so everybody can see them and draw their own conclusion.
So let me get this straight. This is the Republican Speaker of the House, second in line to the presidency, making a public announcement that they are actively blurring out the faces of criminals in an admittedly deliberate effort to obstruct our own Department of Justice from being able to hold them to account. But hey, party of law and order. Got it. And to that point, it was only weeks ago that Mike Johnson himself was on Fox beating his chest about how Republicans were the, quote, rule of law party.
I think we have a constitutional responsibility to follow this truth where it leads. We're the rule of law team. We don't use this for political partisan games like the Democrats have done and did against Donald Trump twice. We are going to follow the law and follow the Constitution. And I think you and I have a suspicion of where that may lead, but we're going to let the evidence speak for itself.
I would say irony just died, but given the fact that Republicans are still calling themselves the party of states' rights, of fiscal responsibility, of family values, of the police, of the military, and of the Constitution, it's clear that irony's been dead for a long, long time now. Consider, too, the actual word that Mike Johnson used to describe what he viewed federal prosecutors as doing. He said, quote, "We don't want them to be retaliated against and to be charged by the DOJ." Retaliated. He views the DOJ doing its job and holding insurrectionist criminals to account for breaking the law as retaliation. Not accountability, not the literal definition of upholding the law, but somehow it's now retaliation to hold criminals to account for criminal activity when you're a Republican. And that's the key here. There is a different set of rules for Republicans. Think about it. Right now, Republicans are claiming that Hunter Biden paying back his father for a car payment is somehow grounds for impeachment for Joe Biden. That's how sensitive they apparently are to even the perception of impropriety. And yet in the same breath, they are admitting that they want to help insurrectionists avoid prosecution by our own Department of Justice. The hypocrisy would knock my head off if it wasn't already so damn predictable. I mean, hell, Republicans literally started a weaponization of government subcommittee. And again, at the same time that they present themselves as the protectors from government overreach, you've got top-ranked Republicans in America holding a press conference vowing to protect insurrectionists from our own law enforcement agencies. What Republicans lack in shame, they make up for in projection. And that's a point that former federal prosecutor Glenkersner drove home.
We live in a post-irony, post-hypocrisy age when the Republicans can say that the people who attacked the police officers, the Capitol police officers, the Metropolitan Police Department, the local DC city cops, beat them to within an inch of their lives, some of them. Many of them are now disabled. Some of them ultimately died. And calling the people who attacked the officers that way patriots and pledging to pardon them, support them, give them aid and comfort, shows the true colors of the Republican Party today. They are willing to sacrifice the blue, sacrifice police officers to, their orange god, Donald Trump. And I don't know how we've gotten here. I think we have to continue to sound the alarm. So there is no earthly chance for Donald Trump to retake the power of the presidency, only to experience more of what we experienced not only on January 6th, but during Donald Trump's presidency and in the aftermath of Donald Trump's presidency. The good news is Donald Trump remains criminally indicted in 4 separate felony cases, both federal and state. He's being prosecuted up and down the eastern seaboard. He will go to trial, barring the Supreme Court throwing sand in the gears. He will go to trial beginning on March 4, and he will be found guilty, I believe, by a jury probably by the end of April, early May, and that will be one enormous step toward accountability and justice for what he did to the American people.
And that episode of The Legal Breakdown will be released tomorrow. So if you want to check out the legal implications of Mike Johnson's actions with regard to these January 6th insurrectionists, make sure to subscribe to this channel. But going back to Johnson's comments, let's be clear. While it is beyond reprehensible that Mike Johnson would come out and say this, chances are pretty good that he's just performing for his base. Not for nothing, but I'm pretty sure the DOJ and the FBI have already seen those tapes and have been able to identify everyone they've sought to identify. Remember, federal prosecutors have already charged over 1,000 people who participated in the insurrection on January 6th. So the notion that somehow House Republicans are privy to brand new, never-before-released information is very likely nothing more than an outright lie. Shocker. I know. And of course, if that's the case, it should come as no surprise that Republicans are looking to willfully deceive their own supporters as part of their theatrics. This is what the GOP does. They will lie to the very people who trust them because it's not about governing, it's not about lowering costs or adding jobs or expanding healthcare. It is about selling a narrative, even if it's all pretend. So long as these Republicans can do their little song and dance, they'll feel accomplished, despite the fact that they are quite literally accomplishing nothing. And that right there is the difference between the two parties on full display. Republicans are perfectly content to do performance art that's based on exactly nothing. And this way they can get their 5-minute cable hit on Fox, and they get to be social media stars, and at the end of the day, that's what they're in this for. Fame and celebrity for themselves. They are in government not to serve their constituents, but for their constituents to serve them. Meanwhile, look at what the Democrats did when they had full control of government, by the same margin that Republicans currently have. They passed the American Rescue Plan, the Inflation Reduction Act, the PACT Act, the CHIPS Act, the Infrastructure Law, the first gun safety package in 30 years, reauthorized the Violence Against Women Act, codified marriage equality into federal law, all while adding 14 million jobs and keeping the unemployment rate below 4%. That is the difference on full display. One party will work, while the other party will do bad community theater to placate the farthest fringes of their base. So when you work your asses off at your jobs to pay your taxes to the government, where would you rather your money go? To a Republican majority shamelessly admitting that they're spending their time and energy aiding and abetting insurrectionists? Or to a Democratic majority who actually bothered getting shit done? To lower your healthcare costs, to rebuild your roads and bridges, to expand your broadband, to make your kids safer in schools. If you want empty rhetoric, then Republicans have got you covered. But if you want something to get done in government, then the Democrats have already shown that they're willing to actually do the work. And look, none of this is to say the Democrats have solved all of our problems and that we can all go home. Far from it. But both parties have already broadcast what their intentions are for 2024 and beyond. The Democrats will continue the work they started. They'll continue to lower healthcare costs, continue to enact common sense gun safety laws, continue to make the rich pay their fair share, continue to add jobs, continue to bolster clean energy manufacturing, and continue to combat climate change. The Republicans, however, will launch a political revenge tour to punish anyone who deigned to hold them to account for their crimes. They will pardon insurrectionists, they will replace career civil servants with Trump loyalists, and mark my words, Donald Trump will not leave office if he's elected. And if you think this feckless Republican Party will do anything to stop him, then you haven't been paying attention. Because if they've shown us anything, they are perfectly willing to serve as little more than an appendage of Donald Trump, to surrender every ounce of integrity and honor and decency in blind deference to a reality TV star. They may claim to be the party of Lincoln, but now the GOP exists solely to serve one person, and it's the con man they've sold their souls for. Before you go, I need some help. Please subscribe to this channel and do your part to help grow the progressive media ecosystem. I don't do sponsorships or paid ads, I won't ask for money, but just subscribing to this channel goes a really long way, and it helps get the message out to more people. The subscribe button is right here on the screen. You can also subscribe to my Spanish language channel, which I made to reach those crucial Spanish-speaking voters. That link is on the screen too. And finally, if you want to listen to my audio podcast, you can follow that link as well. Thanks so much for watching.